Welcome to Rauta, welcome to Steelfest 2024. I am Jerry, your host once again, and here we have a death metal legend. We have Unleashed. Let the man do the honor of introducing himself. Sir, please state your name and position in the band.
All right, I'm Johnny, bass and vocals for Unleashed, and we're playing here at Steelfest tonight. Looking forward to it.
Now, you are one of those old school death metal band from Sweden, but you have never been exactly very much into gore so much as a lot of other bands. What is the story of Unleashed going in the other way than a lot of bands, if we may start with that?
Right. Well, I guess if you go all the way back to 1989 when we formed, a lot of things that we were influenced with back then. We were talking about the Viking mythology, obviously. We did a few of those, let's say, darker, more satanic lyric types. Not too much gore, like you said. A little bit, just a little bit. But I guess the main part for us, the main focus was the Norse tradition, and some of the other stuff as well. But I think that's where we sprang from. That's where we came from, and yeah. So
you've been there indeed very early when it comes to Swedish death metal or death metal in general. I mean, back in the 80s, obviously, America had a lot of bands going on, but then again, not too many versus what happened in the 90s, and you were very early on. What in particular made you interested in death metal?
I would say, then you have to, I guess, go a little bit more back in time, because obviously it didn't start with death or black metal for us. It started with, we all started as heavy metal fans, like very early on, of course, like in the early 80s, like 80, 81, 82. We listened to bands like Motorhead, AC/DC, Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, stuff like that. And and then the thrash metal scene came along. So obviously, Creator, Metallica, Slayer, Testament, stuff like that was just, it just got more and more brutal. And I think we also listened a lot to the punk and hardcore scene back in Sweden. That never really got commercial, but it had a good drive to it. It still has the harsh, let's say, punch to it. And we love that kind of music too. So that's where we came from. And when after the thrash scene has been around for some time, we started listening to some of the early death metal bands, like Death and Autopsy, Morbid Angel, stuff like that from the US, Bolt Thrower obviously, and Carcass, Napalm Death, stuff like that. So, and we just took it from there, I guess. I personally started playing in Nicky Anderson's band Nihilist back then, which later became Entombed and Unleashed after a while. And so we just took it from there. I guess the music got more and more brutal, and I think so did the lyrics, perhaps.
Now that's very interesting. You mentioned Nicky, for example. He had gone through many bands. Obviously, went to the rock and roll, but you never gave up with death metal. But you always kept Unleashed going on, and now we have 14 albums.
Yeah.
You ever feel like you should have done something else or something aside rather than focusing on what is known as one of the, I guess, cornerstones of Swedish death metal?
Thanks. No, I for me, it's always just been about Unleashed, and I've had some side projects, but mostly for my own fun, not really to try and put out and become some other type of musician, because death metal has always been my thing, and I've never seen a reason to change that. Because death metal has everything that I need because I think death metal is live music, and also I can also do all that I want lyric wise. So I've never felt an urge to try and change that. And I think that's what we said that very early on. We want Unleashed to be a death metal act, and we want to be a live act, and we want to be as good as we can be in death metal. We don't want to, put many different styles of music into our music and try to change ourselves. That's not the point. If you want to listen to heavy metal, that's great. get the new Saxon record or Judas Priest. That's cool, but that's not what we do. So we can get influenced by other bands, obviously. You have to, but for ourselves, this is what we do, and we still have so many new ideas for new records that I don't really have the time even to try and produce some other styles of music. You know, it's just not what I do. So
that's a very, very fair answer. Now, in addition, not only that you created it very early on and you've been very, very active with the career and focusing on death metal, you never went too dark, too brutal in death metal territory when certain American bands decided like it's like a pissing contest, like who can do the most harshest lyrics or heaviest sound, but you always more or less kept it quite of a organic, like old school death metal, not being super brutal, always some melodics, but still always the old school sound. Has it been ever challenging for you to stay on this selected path rather than going after the trends where people feel like we have to blast faster, right, we have to be more brutal, we have to be something new?
I know what you mean. I think that we speak about this all the time. We talk about, every time we make a new record, we talk about what should it sound like, what should it be like, because we have to look at the past as well as the future. So I think that when we make a new song or a new record, we always think about what is the root, what is the key thing for Unleashed. And our roots has always been, it doesn't matter if it's death metal or heavy metal or thrash metal, our roots has always been pretty memorable music. And with memorable music, I mean music that are classic structures, like verse, chorus, bridge, solo, verse, chorus, end. You know, we've never been a band to make let's say 22 different technical riffs in one song. It's never been our way. And so I think that's just been something that we keep doing because we like to listen to that type of music. And it doesn't really matter if it's a heavy metal record or a black metal record. That's kind of what we really like listening to as well. So it's been a natural development for the band. We've never had a discussion sitting down saying, well, maybe we should be a lot more technical, or maybe we should, put blast beats on 9 out of 11 songs. That's not what we do. Like I said, when I started listening to death metal, for example, I mean, the bands that I listened to was Death, obviously, Autopsy, early Morbid Angel, stuff like that, and I think the music and the Bolt Thrower, the music that came out of there was just so catchy. I mean, I love the catchiness.
Well, there's definitely catchiness in a lot of those bands you mentioned, whether we're talking about Death or Bolt Thrower especially, where they have the melodic leads and all that stuff, and you don't really have to have those blast beats in order to work it out.
Obviously, we have blast beats too, but that's more of a drum tempo thing, I think. And we also really enjoy making dynamic music, so that every song, if the album sounds like one pace with 12 songs, then it's gonna be kind of, for us, it's a little bit boring. Yeah. We wanna make have some dynamic in the album, so that it, there's slow-paced songs, there's mid-paced songs, there are faster songs, there are like blast beat type songs, but we want all of it. And I don't think that the tempo or the actual pace of a song needs to be all the time, because that would kind of make us, I think that would be boring for us. We've never set out to do that. So, and we spoke about this in 89, 90 when we formed the band. And we said, well, if we can agree on this, we will probably last for a long time. But if we can't agree on this, then the day will come when we will not be, we probably won't last long, because we will fight internally. And so, and I think that's one of the many reasons, but one of the reasons, the key reason for why we actually keep going, because we know what we're going to do the next time we make a new album. There's no question. We want to make a better album than the previous one, but there's no question about what the music's going to be like. If you have too many different new influences in a band, it's going to fly away to left, right, up, down. It's going to go anywhere. You can I don't think that's healthy. So,
talking about Viking themes and lyrics, then again, obviously a lot of people will credit to Bathory for creating the whole Viking metal thing after black metal and all, and of course that must have, inspired a lot of bands, not only in Sweden but other places. But how much those ideas, for example, but not only Bathory, influenced you when figuring out these are the themes we wanna do, or was it just a coincidence?
Well, I would say Bathory was the first black metal band for sure that played with that made music of Norse mythology type lyrics. If you talk about the heavy metal scene, I would go back as far as Heavy Load, because they did the first heavy metal type music with Norse mythology type music. I guess we were the first in death metal out of Sweden, and I think that, I don't see where we have any influences from these bands. I would more say that we have influences from other heavy metal acts.
So it's more coming from there?
Yeah, if you look at, the lyrics, they have influences from so many different parts. Not really just music, but other stuff as well, obviously. Otherwise, I couldn't make the lyrics. But like when I was young, I listened to bands like Manowar, and that was just fantastic for me. I was just amazed by the fact that somebody that didn't even live in the North
exactly
would make that kind of lyrics.
Yeah.
And they just they just went straight into my heart, and I still like it. I think that was fantastic, and so that would obviously be one of the influences when it comes to the lyrics. But nowadays, I don't really need other influences from other bands, because I've done this for such a long time.
Yeah, but I mean, like the early years.
In the early days, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
How do you feel? I mean, I don't know how often this comparison comes along, but I guess you've heard it a million times. Like people saying, okay, Amon Amarth also comes from Sweden, also has Viking themes, like in a big way, and also is melodic, maybe more melodic, maybe less death metal than you, but you probably get a little bit comparison, like how are you related? Has there ever been like, I don't know, not maybe competition, but something like we could play along, or some kind of a co-inspire or something? Have you ever been into the same scene, if you will, in that sense? I
think we are pretty much in the same scene, but I don't think we have any influences on each other. I think we're a little different, different paths, so to speak.
That doesn't mean with the audience as well.
But it seems we kind of fight the same war. I mean, we have the same Viking tradition type songs.
Yeah, that's what I actually
mean. And there's not really any competition from what I feel between the bands. I mean, they do their thing, we do our thing, and I don't think there's they're good friends of ours, obviously. So it's cool. I mean, it's all good.
Would you like to see, I'm more like meaning like, would you like to see there would be a new wave of bands keeping the torch going on than you and say, I'm gonna like back to the Viking stories and all that stuff, while bringing it back to the traditional death metal?
Oh, I welcome all new bands that would try and bring the torch on. I mean, we played a show in Sweden not so long ago, and there were new younger bands there. I don't think they had the same type of lyrics that we do, but I think that's going to happen sooner or later. I mean, it will, and that's cool. That's great. I mean, I'm not going to be here for another 100 years, so
exactly.
And not Amon Amarth either. So we're getting older, So we're still enjoying. I mean, both us and Amon Amarth, we're still playing. We're still, we're still enjoying it, obviously. But we can't be here forever. So it's cool if new bands can come along and grow up and
you can pass the torch.
Take the scene one of these days, for sure. Yeah, I would love to see that. Yeah.
Now, a topic that I kind of hate, but I have to ask, is that obviously nowadays we have a lot of internet canceling for various reasons, and one of the topics is when these Viking themes are suddenly taken over by some political groups, and that has led even to some problems with people wearing like, say, classic symbols like Thor's hammers and whatnot. Actually, I think it was last year at Steelfest when some Swedish guy told me he couldn't get to a bar with a Thor's hammer medallion, even though there was no political context. Have you ever witnessed any kind of problems or cancellations related to false accusations?
No. Well, like 20, 25 years ago, that would have been a problem in Sweden because of the media, who obviously have the same intellectual capacity as a mouse. Now, if you for some reason think that labeling somebody for having like a Thor's hammer or some other jewelry for that matter, it doesn't have to be the Norse tradition, it could be something else.
Exactly.
If you think that it's correct to label a collective number of people for what one guy is wearing or saying for that matter, then that's what starts wars. If that's not reasonable at all. That's not viable. That's not what we do. If you're a human being, why would you label a good number of people for what one person is doing?
Exactly.
Now, you could actually have a number of interpretations for a different symbol. It doesn't matter if it's a Christian symbol or a Viking symbol or some other symbol, but you never know. You can't label like millions of people or hundreds of thousands of people because of somebody is saying something stupid. But which the media in Sweden did like 20, 25 years ago. I don't think that's not a problem right now. They have tried many times to kind of prohibit the like Thor's hammers in Sweden as well, but it didn't work out because they realized if they wanna pass a law for that, there's a good number of symbols you have to put into that.
Yeah, you would start with all the
mankind,
religions.
That means just mankind have to stop wearing symbols. And where is that going to lead? Where is that going to lead?
It doesn't mean like canceling numbers now.
Oh yeah. Oh, you have to cancel everything.
Yeah.
There's nothing more you can't cancel. I mean, you have to cancel just
Alphabets.
about everything. Oh, for sure. Yeah. Do not speak. Do not think. You can't act like that. And all I have to say is that to answer your question frankly, I mean, if you there's always going to be somebody out there that would say, okay, the symbols of the Viking tradition is blah blah and whatever. Well, does that person speak for the entire culture?
Well, that's a very good point.
No, that's not possible. So you could also make the assumption that, well, I have to find somebody that can speak for the entire culture, and somebody will have to have let's say the correct version. Well, how do you do that?
Christianity is a pretty good example how everything is very divided and there's no one way to...
Exactly. I could speak to like 400 Christians and I will get different versions of whatever they think. I can speak to 400 different Muslims and they will say a lot of different stuff. They're not all the same.
Exactly.
And it's the same with people who wears a Thor's hammer. It's obvious. That's just, if people start going around and prohibit people from entering a pub because they have, let's say, long hair.
That is a very, very good...
Or short hair for that matter.
Yeah. I remember those
because
days.
They've
having
seen
the long hair being cancelled for entering a bar. So
where does that end?
Well, yeah, it's a kind of a form of a fascism in a way.
That's a horrible thought to even consider where that's going to end.
Yeah.
And I think that we have to start opening our fucking eyes to that people are not the exact same because somebody says something crazy on the internet.
Yeah, you had a black shirt. Oh, you have to be cancelled.
Yeah.
Or you have the camo pants or whatever.
Oh, there you go. Maybe Adolf Hitler had the same socks as I do.
Oh no.
Am I Nazi then? Who knows? You can't. I mean, when we start thinking like that, that's when we're in fucking deep water.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's when war starts happening because somebody says that, follow me. I hate all these people. They look like that. That's a bad path, and we should just not go down that path again.
Very slippery slope.
Yeah, we should not go down that path.
Talking about more positive side of things. Now, with 14 albums and more than 30 years in the business, you have obviously seen a lot. You have toured a lot. You have done a big amount of music. What are some of the favorite places or favorite memories all along the years which you would kind of like get back to or like revisit or so forth?
Oh, that's like
I know it's a hard question.
That's a rough question. Yeah, I if you ask me 100 times, I will give you 100 different answers.
Let's start with one then.
Yeah.
One of your favorite memories, or few, up to you.
They are plenty. Well,
something that you will take to your deathbed.
Yeah. I will then talk about our first show in Colombia, just out of the blue. we have never been to Colombia before, and I had no idea what to expect.
Except cocaine.
Except, well, and coffee and etc. But yeah, we headlined a festival there. I knew we had fans there. Obviously, there's no question about that. And we had 8,000 people there, like tearing the damn place apart. And that may not seem like a very, let's say, surprising thing because we had a good follow up there, even though we never played there. But they also knew the songs, and that kind of surprised me because they knew the verses, they knew the choruses, and they knew the damn songs. Although I've never been to the country before, that kind of surprised the hell out of me, and that was just a absolutely crazy thing because we didn't really know what to expect. I mean, I could play many places, and like kind of expect pretty much like 75-80% of what the night's gonna be like.
Yeah.
But this time I had no idea. We were just like, okay, let's go. This is gonna be fun. But if it's not a cool night, well, at least we've seen Colombia, you know.
Exactly. Yeah. At least. I wonder you place Conquered.
Yeah, and it'll be fun. But that was just absolutely madness. And yeah, so we just got to go back there. You know?
Well, definitely.
That's just I don't know.
Heads up for Colombian promoters. Get these babies back.
Hell yeah.
Now, do you still have some dreams? Like, I would love to. Well, I mean, like you would love to say warm up for certain bands or tour with certain bands. Not necessarily warm up. Maybe you would be the headliner, but other certain bands you would definitely like to tour or at least do one magnificent gig. Like certain dreams not just yet come true yet.
Yeah, that's it'll be well, the obvious answer will be, well, I've never been on tour with Slayer.
Kind of hard to do now, but
it is hard to do now for sure. That would have been nice, but yeah, well, if I'm just gonna be very egocentric here and say,
you feel free.
You know, one of my favorite heavy metal bands, Eclipse from Sweden. They're a heavy metal band, not black or death metal at all. I would just love to go on tour with them. Cool guys. We would probably party ourselves to sleep every night, and I love their albums. That's something that I would never. It would be a crazy tour because they're not the same music, but well, what do you know?
That's what dreams are for.
Yeah, I think one day maybe, you know, it would be cool.
Getting once more back to the Viking story, do you have a favorite Viking story, an anecdote or something that you would like, this is my go-to? Because I know a few, but I'm more than keen to hear yours.
Oh, you mean
like a Viking legendary story from the Viking myths?
Oh, like one that I haven't experienced, or you mean?
No, one that you still like takes you back to childhood or whatever, that still like gives you warm memories or whatever.
I think that some of the strongest memories that I have are not that old actually. We had a Midwinter Blut celebration. What is it now? I don't remember. 8, 9, 10 years ago. No, this is more. This is 12 or 13 years ago. When a friend of mine had died, who was also my boss at a company I worked on like many years ago. And that was a really moving Midwinter Blut because we celebrated his death, and he was 29 when he passed away.
Oh, man.
So I
Too
mean,
young.
if you celebrate an old relative that was 82, that's not fun, but it is what it is.
Yeah,
and
it's
expected.
expected.
It's expected, exactly. And this was a moving thing. I almost wasn't prepared for. I mean, I didn't think about it that much after he passed away because you had your process, and it was all very, very sad, and he passed away, and time moved on. You got to move on, and then came the Midwinter Blut.
Yeah.
And my wife said, well, we have to celebrate for him. That's where it all starts. We have to raise our glasses for him, and I'm like, that was almost too much. But I kind of felt that very, very hard, and I think I still feel it now when I talk about it. So maybe that's one of my most, let's say, moving moments. It isn't really a tale from the past like that, but because it's 12, 13 years ago or something. But that was a not so fun moment, but it was an important moment.
Like a life-defining in a way.
Yeah, it was a very important moment that we actually, because it was something that wasn't supposed to happen at all. It was not supposed to happen.
Yeah.
You know, you don't die in cancer when you're 29 and
That's
just
fucking
like
true.
that.
Yeah,
It just doesn't happen. And I've never experienced it before. I mean, luckily enough, you know, when my granddad passed away, my father passed away. That's what to be expected, like you said. You know? And so that was a moving thing. That was a really moving thing. And hopefully you don't have to experience that again, I guess. But
well,
but you probably will. You know, we probably will. You know?
Life can be a really, really a bitch.
Hell yeah.
Now, taking a look into the future and thinking about how our bodily remains in the end, how are you prepared for your so-called afterlife? Will it be just pile of ash, or will there be a move on from the Unleashed era to a new dimension? What will happen when you finally give up with the earthly belongings here and move on?
I think that, well, it's funny you should ask that, because I have been working for the past 4 years with a book that's gonna. It's ready now, but it's getting what do you call it? Inspected, kind of. Kind of a proofread and all.
Yeah,
proofread. Exactly. That's what I'm. Yeah. So we're not really there yet, but it's gonna come out eventually. It's not a big one. It's a kind of small one. But that's one of the questions, because in a Norse tradition, obviously when you die, it is said you go to Valhalla. Now you would ask, well, where the hell is Valhalla? Is it around the corner? No. It's not like that. The thing is that what I speak about in this book is that Valhalla is the place, the exact precise place where you think about the dead or the fallen, if you like. So that could be anywhere. That could be anywhere. And as you know, you can compare that to any other, religion or whatever you like. I never call the Norse tradition a religion. I call it a Norse tradition because it's a tradition. But I think that's pretty much where I think I will go too. Hopefully I'll die and go to fucking Valhalla. But that will be the exact place where people would think of me. If they don't, well, maybe I didn't make such a great impression after all. If they do, okay then. Then I will be many times under Bluts and in Valhalla for them. So that could be anywhere.
So possibly we might end up in Valhalla eating the endless feast before Ragnarok and listening to some Unleashed rock and roll tunes. Now,
perhaps.
Let's play a little bit foretelling before we let you go. What happens in a couple of years? Let's say 2 to 5 years. What kind of plans you have for Unleashed? I will rather go more than 1 year, because who knows when this interview will be. People will be watching in a couple of years. So what will happen, say, 2026 and onward?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we are now working on the new album. In my world, it's gonna get done by, let's say, the end of the summer. I would think the album is ready by the end of the summer. Then, of course, we're gonna have to plan the recording of the album, which I would guess, let's say October, November, December, something like that. Then it's up to the record company to plan when to release the album, obviously, and then we're in 2025. So if the album comes out, as I hope, in early 2025, then a lot of more shows, festivals, etc. In 2026, I would assume we'll start working on the next damn album. But you know, we'll see. It's a bit far, but I think that's pretty much what we're doing now. That's what it's right here, right now, because we're doing it all the time. So in 2026,
album, touring.
Yeah. I think that's it. And we don't really make a lot of extensive tours these days. We play a lot of festivals, but I think that's in the loop for 2026 as well, because you do a lot when the album comes out, and then also the year after again, because that's how it is. You can't play everywhere anyway, you know, for just 6 months. You have to step into the next year as well.
Exactly.
So I think that's how it looks right now, and it's a classic answer, because that's what we do all the time. So
fair.
But it's real.
Yeah, exactly. Now, final question. This is my stupid favorite question. if you get to be a little bit philosophic about your past and your younger version, maybe even help out those little kids now figuring out how to play guitar, bass, whatever, and give a little bit of tip to your younger self, what you would do otherwise versus what you actually did when you started, like, I'm gonna do metal.
Oh, you mean something that
Like a word to the wise.
All right, right. Well, I would advise to just try very, very hard to be unique, because if you don't do something that is unique today, you're just going to drown. But work diligently and very, very hard at what you do. Try to become very, very good at what you do, and not just half sloppy, but be very good at it. And I think the most important thing is don't listen to fucking everybody, because you can't please everybody. Lemmy was right, Motorhead. He was right. You can't please everybody. It's impossible.
That's fucking true.
But you have to keep your fans and listen to them. If they like what you do, great. Listen to them all the time, year after year. But work hard and listen to those who care for you. And to those who don't, give them the finger. That's it.
That's a very, very good answer. And now to the very, very final question. Let's exclude the latest album. But you get to choose something to recommend to the fans where to start with, assuming there are people, I've never heard Unleashed before, what I should start with, but excluding the latest ones, because artists always say, our latest one is the best, so apart from that, which one should the audience
I'm going to be so boring now.
No, there is no boring answers.
The Hunt for White Christ, which is the previous one. The one before the one we just released 3 years ago. So
start with that.
The Hunt for White Christ, yeah.
All right. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Great talking to you, man. Great talking to you.
Now you know a little bit more about Unleashed, their past, their future, and a lot of things going on. I hope you will have enjoyed this little talk we had here. In case you have missed the band or most of the albums, now you know a little bit more and dive into the world of Unleashed, Swedish death metal legends. No less than that. So off you go, people. Check out the links provided in the description box for more music for them. And this is Steelfest 2024. This is Unleashed. I'm Jerry. Now off you go, enjoy some music, and see these guys live when you can. Off you go. Bye. Thank you so much.
Right, thank you again.
This was really pleasant talking to you.
Yes, indeed. Very much.
Thank you. Let's take a quick photo and what I mentioned, the